Hey guys, welcome back to Ecom Blueprint. It's Mark here, and today we'll be going on about product research and niche selection. So hopefully you guys watch our other videos on how to create a Shopify store, where to find products, how to add them to your store, and a lot of other awesome tips and stuff I gave in that video. If you haven't watched it yet and you're new to Ecom, I highly recommend you go back and watch those videos first and then come back to this one. Okay guys, so hopefully you've started your store now, but you might not quite be sure what niche you want to go in, or whether you want a general store or a niche store, or what exactly you want to sell. So hopefully this video today, guys, helps you out a bit. Alright, so guys, when on Shopify or in Ecom, with a store, there's two types of stores you can have. You can have a general store or a niche store. So I'll show you some examples of a general store, and we'll have a look through one as I talk you through it. So here guys, this is a website called GearBest, and what you'd call this is, you'd call it a general store. So as you see guys, it has an absolute array of items and all sorts of things. So it's not actually limited to a specific niche. You can see guys, they've got a lot of electronics. As we browse through the store, it almost looks like an AliExpress type page itself. So it looks like they actually do have like a lot of cheaper Chinese AliExpress items, as well as some brand names here. So you can see some brands you might recognize. I certainly recognize MSI. Not sure about these other brands, but you guys might recognize them, I'd imagine. And you can see they've got everything. They've got like baby stuff and drones, heaps of electronics. You can come back up here. You can see they've got apparel, tools, computers, networking, appliances, baby and kids, office supplies, absolutely everything, guys. So this is a general store. So a lot of gurus and stuff, when people are starting out, they actually recommend, when you're starting out, to go a general store. I don't think personally you have to do a general store if you know what you want to do. If you're not quite sure, or not sure what you're good at selling, or not passionate about a specific area or a niche, I'd probably recommend a general store too. The thing with general stores, guys, is you can actually test an array of products, find out what sells, what works best for you, what you may be better at marketing at, and you might kind of find your niche from there, or continue to have a general store until you get something like this, where honestly this store is on steroids. It has absolutely everything, and you can tell by just looking at this store they are making a killing. So these guys are actually running Facebook ads, Google ads, so they're very diversified there. So in a later on video on another day, we'll talk about the importance of diversification when it comes to marketing. But today we're more talking about niche selection and product research and stuff. So this is a general store, guys. It's pretty straightforward. The name explains it. It's just a general a general store, a lot of products, and it's not specifically limited to a particular niche as such. And then you have niche stores. So here, guys, we have MV&T. So I'm sure many of you have heard them before. They are two university dropouts or college dropouts in America. They saw some watches on Alibaba. So their story was they realized with jewelry, and especially watches, it's marked up a lot in price. So they wanted to provide minimalistic and stylish watches to people at an affordable price. So MV&T was created. So we can look through their store, and you know immediately that their niche is the watch niche. So these guys are making over 60 million US dollars a year, and they are absolutely crushing it. You've probably seen their ads before. You probably own some of their watches, and they've also now expanded to sunglasses and stuff. But you can see, guys, a very clean, very professional looking website, and a great range of watches too. So this would be an example of a watch niche store. Here, guys, we have High Smile. So these guys were high school dropouts, started a teeth whitening store when they were only, I think one was 19, one was 21. They're both 23 now, and it's now worth over $46 million the last time they both got evaluated for their net worth. So these guys, you would have seen influencers like Conor McGregor, Kylie Jenner, and I think Kendall too, maybe, advertising or like doing social proof marketing or influencer marketing, sorry, on their products. So you can see, guys, they've also got like a very simple, very clean website in the tooth or the teeth healthcare kind of niche. So they've got teeth whitening kits as well as toothpaste, and that's kind of their niche here. And then we have Gymshark, guys. So I think these guys are doing about $100 million US as well. And these guys absolutely got massive in just from using some very influential influencers through the aesthetics, kind of the gym area. So these guys are a gym clothing brand. They're also killing it. They've also got their own vlog on YouTube. It's pretty good. And these guys, you'd say they're in the gym or apparel niche. So guys, that's the difference between a general store, which as you can see has absolutely everything on it, versus some more niche kind of websites. What's best for you? The way I put it, it's how you want to work essentially. So with the general store, guys, yes, they've got a lot of products, but you need to also rely on a lot of winning products. This especially comes pertinent to when you're advertising, whether it be on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. You want to be able to find winning products, and these can sometimes burn out. So when you're looking at things like fidget spinners or those charcoal face masks that remove blackheads and stuff, those type of products, they got really popular for a bit. I don't know if you remember fidget spinners. They went absolutely viral for a while until the market got really saturated because every other person in his e-commerce store jumped on board and started selling them, and they started getting sold in retail stores and even at the service stations until they just got that saturated where people kind of lost interest. So general store, guys, I do have some friends that are making absolute killings by doing them. I'm in a niche store myself, but you can make a fortune with a general store. You just need to be able to put in the work. So you need to either yourself or get your VA, which is virtual assistant, to constantly be sourcing winning products, and not just sourcing, testing, because a lot of the time you can't actually tell whether a product's a winning product or not. There's been a lot of times in the past where I've thought something was going to be an absolute winning product and then gone to sell it, and it's got barely, any sales or any attention or anything. And I've had products that I didn't think would sell at all, and they've gone absolutely viral. So you hear a lot of stories about other people that have had, they've tested hundreds of products and they haven't got any sales, and then on the 100 and something one, they've found this winner and they've absolutely skyrocketed their sales and made bank on it. So with e-commerce in general, and especially general stores, you need to have, you need to be willing and understand that you're actually going to lose money a lot of the time testing products. So it's all about testing your products to find the winners, and that's just e-com in general. No matter what niche, even if you're in a niche, you need to test products, and that even includes private label. You might think something's a really good idea, and then it's going to go absolutely viral, and it's not going to sell at all, or it doesn't end up selling at all. So that's a general store, guys. So you're with a general store, the advantages are you're not limited to a particular thing. This makes it easy to sell whatever's popular on social media at the time, whether it be in your niche or not, because you have a general store. That's a bit more difficult if you're in a niche store. There's been times where I've known that something's a winning product and selling really well, but it's not in my niche, and it almost, if anything, completely conflicts with my niche, and it would confuse my customers if I were to sell it. So I've kind of had to not sell it at all. Whereas with a general store, you kind of have that advantage. The disadvantages of a general store are it's harder for you to target specific people all the time, to develop a pixel that for your Facebook that knows exactly what kind of people to target, as well as build a large following of a particular passionate audience. So if you had a niche store, say it was pet products, for example, it's a lot easier for you to build a large audience on social media who are passionate about, dogs or cats or just pets in general, versus a general store, which you can definitely build very large pages of them. There's some massive general stores, including this one on social media, but not everyone's going to be interested in every product, or be able to relate to every product you post with a general store. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. With a niche, it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to grow a more engaged kind of audience, based on just because they're always normally constantly interested in what you post, as long as it's not the same thing all the time and you are providing value. So when it comes to that, we'll talk about Facebook and engagement and all that stuff later on, but this is more just the product research side of things now. So you kind of, that's the difference between, I suppose, a general store and a niche store, and what kind of the advantages are for each. What's best for you? Like I said, it depends what you want to do. If you have an idea and you're passionate and very knowledgeable on a particular thing, whether it be, dogs or animals, for example, or even, cycling or bicycles, you can kind of move into that niche. I would highly recommend not doing a niche just because you think it sells good or you see someone else really successful in it. Doesn't mean you will be as successful. So guys, for example, I've had 4 people that I know off the top of my head now, if not, the ones I don't know, who have pretty much tried to completely copy my website and my niche, and a lot of them, well, they've pretty much failed, or they're not doing anywhere near as good as me, so to speak, because they think just because of my niche, that's the reason why I'm selling so good, but then they can't get sales in it, as well as a lot of other people that I know have been copied, but the copycats never seem to be able to sell as good. So it's, no matter what niche you're in, it doesn't matter about the niche as such. It's the way you market, or the work that goes on in the back end that people don't actually see. So all the stuff behind the scenes. So don't just pick a niche just because you think it might sell good, because the moment it gets hard, you're going to get over it really quickly, and all the money you would have invested into testing or education or whatever is just going to be a waste if you're not in it for the long run. So you need to be committed, especially if you're moving into ecom, because it's not easy, guys. Like, even for me, like, it's always up and down. Some months you'll even lose money, some months you'll make bank. Like, it's it's a very difficult journey, e-commerce, as well as anything, that you kind of invest with. Making money and getting rich isn't easy. If it was, everyone would be rich. So that's, I suppose, another advantage or disadvantage, or not so much an advantage but a recommendation that I would put, that if you're going to do something, make sure you know and are passionate about that niche. If you're passionate about it, in the long run, you're not going to get over it as quickly, and you're going to continue to push forwards until you actually start getting a lot of momentum behind you. So just a few other tips, guys. A lot of the best products you can kind of find to sell, a lot of the time you can find them already selling on Facebook. So you can just search in the search bar on Facebook to try and find products there. You can see what's selling. A lot of the time something's going to sell, if it hasn't already got much attention, it's going to sell a lot better. So you don't really want to try and copy or sell something that you see selling that's already had like 1 million views and been shared 1 million times, that's already saturated. It'd be like you trying to sell a fidget spinner right now. Do you think anyone's going to want to buy one anymore? Maybe a few months ago or last year, you would have sold lots, but not anymore, because you're jumping on like a dead trend pretty much. So that comes with a lot of things, especially the products and ads on Shopify. They die out, so you want something kind of evergreen, something long term that you can continue to sell, which is kind of why I like niches. If there's a constant kind of market for it. Otherwise, if you have a general store, you need to constantly be on the search for those winning products, which you can make a lot more money on if you can, and a lot quicker if you can find those viral products and be the first to kind of find them. So that's my first tip. Just check Facebook. You can see what's selling. Use the search bar. If you're in a niche, you can type particular videos and things that are selling for that niche. If you are in a niche, guys, you want a large enough audience to be able to sell to. So there's no point being so narrowed down, so niche, that, like, say you've got a pet store, for example, or not a pet store, but like a dog store, but instead of selling all dog products, you're selling one item, and that item's something random like little dog booties for, they might be really popular in the hot areas where the sun's, on the tarmac or the ground or whatever, and their paws get hot, but your ability to expand and scale that is very limited. It's limited just by, it's going to be harder for you to expand to cold areas, for example, or expand into other products. Whereas if you had a dog store, even went one step better and had a whole pet store, and you didn't just sell dog products, maybe you sold cat products, or, there's a lot of fish stuff like fish tanks and fish, decorations and all sorts of things you can get off AliExpress, filters even. You can really expand and become more like a mega pet store, which there'd be, obviously, as you know, like a lot more opportunity in doing something like that than being, really niched down, so to speak. You just want to make sure you have a large enough audience and that it's also expandable. You can scale within it. So, like I said, if you had more dog products, for example, you say you sold collars, but you might be able to then expand into leads, and then dog clothes, stuff like that. So you're not stuck. Your niche isn't so narrowed that you can't actually expand, or once Facebook ads start getting more expensive, whether it be Facebook's running out of real estate. Obviously, you might have seen some updates recently. They're getting rid of the newsfeed ads, so you can expect prices for the cost of advertising is going to get quite expensive now. So you want to be able to expand and even bundle, increase that average order value so you can still maintain a profit after the cost per purchase and the cost of marketing and everything. So little tricks for bundling might be if you're in a clothing niche and you have shirts and you want to include a pair of pants with them and a belt or pair of shoes, and you can buy the bundle for like half price or something versus buying the items individually, which is going to sell a lot better, but there'll also be better margins for you. So you can kind of like make more profits on the front end with that. As well as the back end, guys, you always want to be thinking of the back end, especially when it comes to email. If you've got one product, it's going to be really hard for you to constantly email that one product all the time, because people will get sick of you emailing and spamming them the same thing all the time. If you've got a range of products and they're slightly different but in the same niche, you'll find you have higher open rates on your email, click-through rates, and you'll be able to sell a range of products and make more money on the back end that way. The ability to upsell and obtain reoccurring sales. So same, pretty much what I just explained then with the email. You can upsell other products, you can cross-sell products and keep getting reoccurring sales through that. So you're not just trying to push the same product in people's face all the time until they get sick of it. Another really important thing to take into consideration if you're having a niche store, guys, is you want an engaged and passionate audience. Now, that's really important in my opinion, because if your niche is too broad, for example, or you're not even in a niche, you're just really broad, it's going to be really hard for you to get a passionate audience. So you want products, what people are passionate about, especially things what they can continue to buy or something like that later on. Like they're not just going to buy it once and then leave. And maybe if it's for a good cause or something they truly care about themselves. So you want them to be passionate. This is going to be a lot easier and more affordable / cheaper for you to market these products if your audience is passionate about it. So you don't want your niche too broad, guys. That's another thing. As well as test. So I mentioned it earlier. Definitely, they're more pertinent to a general store, but definitely, comes into with a niche store too. You want to constantly be testing products, guys. Otherwise, you just lose momentum. So you probably lose money, and it might be one in every 20 products or 30 products or more that you actually find a winner. But that's how the biggest stores, you look at them and they have 8 winners or so much, like running at a time, several winners running at a time that they're making all these profits on. They're not just relying on one product, because as soon as that product starts to get saturated or slow down in sales, you're relying on that one product. So I also like to have bait products which kind of bring people into the store. Then you're not necessarily trying to sell them, but you can then cross-sell them on other items in your store. So it's all about getting that traffic in, getting that customer into your funnel. So hopefully, guys, that explains the difference between a general store and a niche store. Excuse me. So now we'll move on to our product selection and stuff. So I quickly touched on it last time, guys, with AliExpress and how to add products to your store, but I didn't go too much in depth into actually how to select your products. I did mention some kind of, reading the reviews and all that is important, but I'll go into a bit more detail now. So things you want to be looking for, guys, is e-packet. So you can see here these green kind of borders that say e-packet. So what that means is those items are going to ship fully tracked, especially to the US and Australia, and they're going to ship faster. So e-packet, guys, it pretty much means like fully tracked shipping. So that way, if you get a customer inquiry, you can actually tell them where their item is at that particular time, or where it was at least last scanned in. So whereas if I scroll down, I'll try and find one. Here we have one there. It says no e-packet. So these that tracking isn't as accurate on them, or sometimes they'll have no tracking information at all. So you're kind of like constantly trying to reassure your customers where they are. Difference being e-packet ships for Australia, for example, within 13 to 20 days, or I think, and in the US, I think they ship a lot faster, as well as other parts of Europe and that, versus the no e-packet or just the China Post shipping, which it is most of the time, or China Small Package Plus. You're looking at more about 23 to 49 days. So there's quite a big difference there. So the first thing you kind of want to be looking at, guys, when you're adding your products to your store is going for their e-packet ones if you can. You can see some photos here, guys. This particular store probably might not have them, but you can see they've got watermarks there, yeah? So sometimes if you can actually scroll down to the bottom and go to more products, you'll find from other sellers. And a lot of the time you might be able to find other sellers that have that same product but don't have a watermark. So this is probably not a good example. Like, it's normally a bit more difficult to find with the more the harder to find kind of stuff, but there's a lot of suppliers that do sell the same stuff you'll find on AliExpress. And if you scroll down here, they might have watermarks on their photos, which is hard to use in your store because you don't really want watermarks. But like, you might be able to find another supplier there that doesn't have watermarks. So that's another little trick there. Another thing you want to be looking at, guys, is the feedback. So I touched on it quickly in the earlier videos. So you can look through here and you can actually look at the photos and always go through the feedback, see if people's happy. You want to, clothing especially is really, really tricky, guys, especially from AliExpress, because a lot of the time it's not only quite poor quality compared to what you might get in, Australia or the US or anywhere in Europe, really, but also the sizing can be a bit off too. So a lot of the clothing you'll find, especially with leggings and stuff like that's really risky to get into as a niche. But a lot of the times it'll fit smaller than normal. So you might sometimes be better off looking into print on demand and doing your own clothes. But you can see here, normally you want to look at, you want to read through the comments, make sure everyone's happy with the products, the sizing doesn't fit small, the shipping was fast. You want to avoid sellers where customers have complained that the shipping was too slow, or they didn't get their item at all. That's not good either. If you scroll up, guys, you can see you can click on reviews just with pictures, and that'll filter out all the ones that just have pictures only to display them for you. You can look at their other reviews. You can click here so you can see all their 1 stars. So you can see this seller actually has really good feedback. This is probably an item. It may be, maybe if you had an owl niche or something and you sold everything owls in your store, that you could look into selling. So that's in terms of feedback. You can also look at the seller's feedback there. If you highlight their store, you can actually look at their actual feedback there, and then you click onto that and you can look in more in depth of how them as a store, how they've been reviewed by other customers in the past. So you can see here that they're 98% positive. So that's pretty good. You'd probably say they're a really reliable supplier. So we'll look at some jewelry and watches. We'll try and find a King review. So I tried to touch on it in the first video. You can see here these little symbols. So this guy has a medal. So medals are pretty good. A lot of the time, instead of a medal, it'll have a diamond or a crown. So diamonds are the next kind of step up. They're pretty good as well. And they're generally really reliable. And then the King's ones, they've been in the game a few years. They've been a seller for a few years. They haven't been kind of kicked off AliExpress or something like that. So a lot of the time, don't forget to obviously still check the feedback. But you can see here, they're quite good. That's an excellent positive feedback. So you can look through for this item here, for example, and you can see that it comes with really nice packaging for something that only costs $9. It comes with really nice packaging. This is probably something you could honestly sell probably for $40 or more. You could even have it $40 on sale from $80-something. That half price thing. It's better marketing. The good thing about jewelry, guys, and the jewelry niche is most of the time you can't put a price on it. And a lot of the time people will often buy jewelry just because it's more expensive. I know myself, I'm really picky and kind of materialistic with jewelry. I can't buy cheap jewelry. I'll look at a store and I'll try and buy the cheap thing, and I always just end up convincing myself to get the more expensive thing. So things like jewelry, especially on AliExpress and watches and stuff, that have a higher perceived value, you can actually source them cheaper and sell them for more. I would recommend actually probably shipping a lot to yourself first, just to provide that better, faster service, cleaning up the packaging a bit. Because if you are going to give off the impression that it is a more luxury item, you do want to, I suppose, have a look at it and see how they come, especially with the watches. A lot of the AliExpress suppliers, when they ship things like watches, they'll just ship them in plain plastic in a little white package or yellow package similar to that, whereas it doesn't look as nice, whereas you'd expect a luxury watch to come in a box. So always, especially with electronics and things like that, go through the feedback. Electronics is obviously quite risky. There's a lot of things that can happen and go wrong during the shipping process itself, and to the electronics overall, anything going faulty and stuff, especially with Chinese electronics, guys. So, but one good niche might be jewelry, for example. Higher perceived value. You can make really good profits with this. It's an easy niche to kind of upsell to, guys, and cross-sell. And you can really build a brand on a jewelry niche. Obviously, you look at Tiffany & Co. and Pandora and all them, they're absolutely killing it. Big, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar brands that have just built their wealth off they're probably getting their products made very cheap, and they're selling them to you because you're paying for the name. So essentially, you want to create that kind of name for yourself and sell products like that. As well as things, guys, we might look at cameras. So you can look at things like camera bags. So maybe you're selling cameras or something, and you want a good cross-sell to sell a camera. So camera bags, same. This doesn't have e-packet, guys, but you can see the sellers got quite good feedback. They've been around 4 years. You can look at the actual bag itself here. They don't have any photos, unfortunately, but quite good reviews. It's a bit of a risk because there's not too much feedback, but that also means that it may be either a newer product or people haven't seen it as yet. So it is also an opportunity. So sometimes, guys, the best opportunities are with the more risky yet newer products. If in doubt, it's always a good idea to get one shipped to yourself first. Then you can kind of suss out the supplier, how long it takes, how reliable they are, and how good they pack orders. But you can see something like this, guys. Only $38. I'm not sure. I'm not a camera expert myself, but I'm quite sure these generally sell for a lot more in retail stores. So you could probably have it almost, maybe just under $100 and sell it for, say it was on sale for a bit under $200, and it'll give it that, people will think it's got that higher perceived value and that it's real good quality, and they'll buy it. So obviously you don't want to sell people crap. Make sure you check the reviews. But in my opinion, this actually looks pretty decent, and something that could be sold for a lot more, definitely more than $38 in Australian anyway. So that's just with product selection, guys. You can see you've got like a lot of categories here, and within those categories you've got subcategories which you could also base your niche on. You might want a cosplay store, for example. There's lots of ideas on AliExpress as well as eBay and Wish. So just check out Wish on Facebook as well. If you scroll down their newsfeed, you'll actually see a lot of the times they'll post their new items that they just got on their newsfeed, and you can kind of see how customers or the market reacts before you sell them, and quickly jump onto something like that and be the first to kind of sell it, just like someone would have done with fidget spinners, for example. You might want like a weddings and events niche. You could do like a sporting niche, or a niche within sporting niche, like MMA, for example, homewares, all sorts of stuff, men's clothing, apparel. Remember I said though, with apparel and clothing, you just got to be a bit careful because a lot of these items are based on Chinese sizing, guys. So phones and accessories, probably wouldn't drop ship them, to be honest, just because of like they would be high priced and they're all risky. I'm not sure if these are the legit brands, but they could be. You've got Motorola here. You just need to be really careful, guys, with actual brands to make sure are a lot of fakes on AliExpress, and you don't want to get caught by Motorola themselves or something like that, drop shipping their products or selling rip-off of their products, especially, for example, if you look at Pokemon. So these guys obviously do this because they don't have the laws and the copyright and trademark laws in Australia. So, but they know these things sell, so they're popular. So whether it be a Pokemon shirt or something, you wouldn't call it Pokemon, and I would honestly stay away from something like this. Just because it's not worth, being a bit greedy or taking that risk, and then next minute you're sued for everything you own. So just be careful, guys, when it comes to stealing off businesses or anything. So hopefully that gave you a few ideas, guys, with some niches. Obviously, you've got home improvement. You might do sports or outdoors, toys, all sorts of things. Kitchen is another good one. I know a lot of people making some good money selling kitchen stuff, pet products, all sorts of things, guys. So have a look around. My advice, like I said, would be to find something you're actually already knowledgeable on, that you'll be able to A, assist customers for, and B, that you're passionate on, that you're not going to get bored of. So something you can really build a brand. That's if you're doing a niche, guys. Otherwise, if you want a general store, you can pretty much just do what you want, be like these guys, and sell as much as you want. You more want to kind of aim to just constantly find those winning products, those viral products, and sell them online. Just points to remember, guys. Remember, look for the passionate kind of niche, and for brands or products that have e-packet. So just remember to look for that little green, I can't see anything here. Oh, there we go. That green kind of symbol that says e-packet. E-packet generally is a few dollars more, sometimes even more, depending on the supplier. But you can just include that in your shipping price anyway, which should cover it. I hope that helps out, guys. Just a quick little video for today. And I wish you luck in sourcing your niche and finding out what you want to sell. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and check out our page on Facebook, Ecom Blueprint. Cheers, guys.